Midwest College Football Podcast, joined as always by Clinton Boring, and we have special guest picker, the mascot, hanging out over my right shoulder here. I am Ryan Satkowiak, here for another Picks episode, Week 7, October 12th, the weekend we have all been waiting for since the schedule was released. Clinton, on a scale of 9 to 10, how excited are you for this weekend?
10. Easy answer.
Fair enough.
I'm very excited. Very excited.
Evening.
Doing good, man. I'm a little tired. As we were talking a little pre-show, I could not fall asleep last night. My body was just wide awake at like midnight, and I just laid there. So I am ready to hit the sheets tonight and go to sleep so I can get some rest before tomorrow. But wife and I got another in-home date night tomorrow night. It's my turn to lead it. So I am doing a Harry Potter themed. So we're going to watch Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm going to make some homemade butterbeer with some like whipped topping on top of it. I got some pretzels and Reese's cups. We're going to make those into little broomsticks. And I got some popcorn. We're just going to prop our feet up and chill on a Friday night. So it'll be a good start to the weekend. How are you doing, Mr. Satkowiak?
Well, I'm flying solo tonight, which is why the dog's hanging out with me. And instead of being upstairs doing her own thing, she's incapable of being alone. Kind of funny, but also kind of annoying. It's like a Velcro. No, man, I got nothing going on. I had home alone all weekend, so now not that I get guilt tripped into watching football all day Saturday, but now I can eat copious amounts of food without getting, not that I get guilt tripped for that either, but I can be a disgusting slob all weekend and nobody will know except for everyone listening to this show. So
you can just weigh yourself tomorrow and then weigh yourself right when Sam gets home, and let's see what the weight changes.
It might be a lot, honestly. I got some pulled pork and nachos to make for lunch on Saturday. I don't know what I'm going to have for dinner yet, but it's probably going to be equally disgusting. So there might be some.
You eat nachos more than anyone I know. You also used to send me nothing but Snapchats of goldfish.
Well, that's always because the dog, whenever I'm eating goldfish, the dog is like in my shit because I made the mistake one night. Oh God, we're still living in Columbus. Then we came home from the bars one night and I was drunk and I'm like, I want some goldfish. So I ate some goldfish. I'm like, you know who else wants some goldfish? The dog. So now whenever I pull out the goldfish container, she runs up to me. And when I hop on the couch is like sitting on top of me because she thinks she's getting some. And
give me the fish.
Yeah, she usually gets them. But
do you have a favorite flavor of goldfish, Ryan?
Original. It's 10 out of 10 original. No notes.
He's safe. Yes! 5-3 Guardians. Let's go. Okay, sorry. Back to our
Clinton's watching
regular scheduled program.
Football season. I, meanwhile, have a quad box pulled up of all the mid-major games on today, and they all stink. James Madison is beating the brakes off of Coastal. Western Kentucky almost scored to go up by 17 on UTEP, and I'm pretty sure Middle Tennessee State is down by 13 to LA Tech right now. So not a lot.
Our avid listener, Adam Bedell, is from Detroit and is a Detroit Tigers fan. So he's going to grimace tomorrow when he listens to this as he's driving into work. But sorry, Adam, go Guardians. All right, let's get to Week 7.
Week 7, yes. Let's do it, Clint. Remember tonight.
Picks of the Week.
So before you go any further, my theme of the week is bringing the D, because they say defense travels. We're going to put that to the test as 3 East Coast teams travel to the West in a different time zone, and they all have good Ds. Ohio State, Penn State, and Minnesota for their westward travel.
That's only slightly more disgusting than the Solid Verbals Fartastic Saturday that they based their preview show off of. Oh, Clinton's got his arms up again.
Foul ball.
No.
Yes, that was a great episode today, though.
That was very funny.
The way they put all those. Oh my! I can't even think of all of them, but it was fantastic.
It was
great
really
job.
Funny. I cackled a couple times. Live once again on YouTube this evening. You guys know where to find us by now. We are at ITPCFB on the YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed to that channel. If I can figure out, Dallas scored. Good for me. If I can figure out how to edit videos, I don't know if my old Mac has video editing software, but we're going to try to put some some clips together for some YouTube specific content for our trip to Purdue next weekend. I'm very excited about that. Find us on Twitter and Instagram as well, both at ITPCFB on both of those. Twitter's probably the best place to follow us because you'll get all of our content delivered straight to your smartphone, computer, tablet, whatever you have. And as always, if you would prefer to listen to us in the morning in your podcast feed for your morning commute or whatever you pretend to do for work, we are at Inside the Pylon, a Midwest College Football podcast on those platforms. Before we get started tonight, Clinton wanted to give a quick shout out to the guys from the 3 Tech podcast who had me on their preview show last night. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It was kind of interesting pretending like I know anything about the Big 12 and SEC, so that was fun. You guys can head over to their Twitter feed at 3TechPod on Twitter to check that episode out. We talked a little bit of Big Ten, and we'll get more into that tonight. Obviously, the big one, 7:30 NBC, number 2 versus number 3, Ohio State at Oregon. Clinton, cue the music. I don't actually have music for this one. I should have.
There you go. That's all I got for you.
I got music somewhere in here. Probably. No, I don't think I actually. Oh, here we go. That's the only song that I have.
We need something more uplifting to get you juiced. That makes me want to go jump off a cliff.
I needed that.
Not that anyone should do that.
Listen, I needed that one for Purdue, Illinois. I should have saved it.
That is depressing.
That would have been funny. Oh, Dallas scored again. Good for me. I got the Stars home opener or season opener up on the iPad here. Clinton, I'm going to let you kind of take the reins on this one here. Ohio State, a 3-point favorite in this one. This line's held pretty steady all week. Preseason, I think Oregon was a slight favorite, so there's a little bit of movement from that. Probably indicative of what everyone's thought of the Ducks so far this season.
Remember we said the last time the Ducks were an underdog, if you guys listened on Monday night, 2018, they were an underdog to Washington, a game in which they won in overtime. So fast forward to 6 years later, they are now an underdog to some people's arguably most talented team in the country, the Ohio State Buckeyes. I said it Monday. I think I've said it before Monday. I'm going to say it again. The team that wins this game is the team that wins the trenches, whose D-line can cause more havoc on the opposite offense, and whose offensive line can actually protect their quarterback. Ohio State, we can go down the list of who's got the better quarterback, who's got the running back. I think at the end of the day, everyone would say they'd probably rather have Dylan Gabriel than Will Howard. I think you choose Ohio State's running back room, their wide receiver room, and their offensive line. I think from our votes, Oregon's defensive line won. I think I'd probably be a toss-up for me on linebackers, and I'd rather take Ohio State's DBs and then take Oregon's special teams. It's a pretty even matchup. It worries me from the Oregon side that in the last, I think, last 2 games, Oregon has 3 turnovers in the red zone, 2 of those coming against Michigan State. Blatantly bad interceptions thrown by Dylan Gabriel, almost like it was Stevie Wonder throwing the ball. And now you go to the flip side of that and you look at a team like Ohio State, who is 21 for 21 in the red zone. Mm-hmm. They have scored 100% of the time. Outside of third down or short yardage situations, one of the biggest knocks on Ryan Day in most recent years was red zone efficiency. Well, you cannot get more efficient than 100%. So if Oregon's going to turn the ball over in the red zone and we can bank that Ohio State's going to score, Oregon's going to be in big trouble. Mm-hmm. You just brought the news to our attention that Jordan Birch has potentially injured his knee in practice today.
Yeah,
so at this time, we are unsure.
Yeah, so this, I pulled up our Twitter and I just happened to see a random post that was like, Jordan Birch, please take my leg. I'm like, the hell? So there's a rumor floating around that Jordan Birch injured his knee in practice today. Justin Hopkins from Scoop Duck posted on their message board I asked about Birch being carted off and was told that's an excessive exaggeration of what happened. I was told he did get nicked up and they held him out of the rest of practice as precautionary. It didn't sound alarming, so I guess take that how you please. So he did get hurt. There seems to be some confusion on how severe it is. I wouldn't expect Oregon to officially comment that he was not playing to give Ohio State any sort of cue in on that. So that's something that could potentially throw this one into a little bit of chaos, Clinton, because we're talking about a guy who's really starting to come on this year. I mean, very clearly a talented guy, former 5-star prospect,
freakishly athletic,
transferred before last year from South Carolina. Had a little bit of a slow year last year, but I believe he's leading the team with like 5 sacks this year. So if he cannot go, or if he's limited in this game, that is a significant loss to that defense.
The biggest thing you're going to know is he's been nicked up, so he's not going to be 100%. What percent of 100 is he? We don't know. Maybe he's 99. They can shoot him up and make it feel good, but there's any type of instability or those type of things, and we really well know that that's going to limit the pass rush. So Oregon's going to have to rely on other guys. Can Oregon make enough big plays? I've seen stuff talking about from other podcasts today that Dylan Gabriel is a great deep ball thrower. I'm like, what film have you watched this year? Have you listened to Dale Bliss talk at all about his little noodle arm? Have you listened to any of the big podcasts like Joel Klatt, who's describing that, and the Solid Verbal, that most of Dylan Gabriel's throws are 10 yards or under? He doesn't throw the ball downfield. And now maybe we subscribe to Ryan's theory here that maybe Oregon's been waiting to open it up some. I think they're going to have to in this game against Ohio State's defense. Ohio State is a top 5, top 3 defense in every category. Oregon is also, I believe, they're top 10 in most categories. So it's a battle of the giants. I've went back and forth all day with this. Yes, Ohio State fans, I have contemplated that I could take Oregon in this. I'm going to take Oregon to cover the points, but Ohio State wins. I think it's that close of a game, and the reason I think they can get it under 3 is Oregon likes to go for 2. So if Oregon hits one of their 2-point conversions, or maybe they miss one of them, that's what gets us in that under 3 world there for Ohio State. So Oregon with the points, Ohio State wins.
Lock of the week.
I got Ohio State winning this by 7 to 10 points.
Wow. Okay. Why do you have that? Why do you think that?
Well, I'm mostly locking this one up because I have no earthly clue what else to lock up in this slate. I don't feel great about this pick. I will not be doing the run the ladder this week because I don't freaking the Illinois line got a little too big on me, and that was going to be my lock. But I think kind of the news on Birch maybe pushed it over the edge a little bit. Again, unsubstantiated rumor on the severity. There's definitely something to the fact that he got nicked up, and I've seen video, people kind of, who do the whole clips on the internet thing talking about, wow, look at this play, look at that play. And there were a couple of clips, I don't remember who was posting them, but talking about like, hey, if you run at Jordan Birch, like you can get him in the run game. Clinton's arms are up again.
We won, baby. Game 5, Saturday. I think it's going to be at the exact same time as the Ohio State-Oregon game. I'm going to be in quite a predicament.
As I said, good for Michigan fans. They don't have a football game to watch. They at least get
some. Do they have a football game to watch every week?
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a shell of themselves.
One of my patients today was dogging on them. She's like, at least we don't have football to be upset about this weekend. I'm like, I don't know why you're lumping me into this.
Unless you're a Bengals fan.
Yeah, that's fair. So based on some of this film, people were kind of picking on Birch in the running game. And I mean, if he's limited at all, then I think that's something that Ohio State can potentially exploit. I think Ohio State has shown this year, again, we covered this in depth on our Tuesday show, that neither of these teams are particularly battle tested. And especially Ohio State's offense has faced very little game pressure this year. But at least they have shown a consistent ability to be explosive, whether it be through the air or on the ground. I still have questions about whether or not Will Howard elevates this Ohio State offense in these bigger games. But it's just based on what I've seen this year, I just have not been impressed with Oregon against lesser competition. And again, I'm with Dale. I don't necessarily think that Oregon's been holding back for 6 weeks in some sort of long con, but it would not surprise me if they came out and just started chucking the ball all over the field Saturday. And it's like, wow, where has this been for the last 6 weeks? But based on what I've seen this year, I think Ohio State has, like, if you're comparing position group to position group, I think Ohio State has an advantage pretty healthily across the board in this one, particularly on the offensive line. And if Birch is not 100%, that probably gives Ohio State a definitive edge on the defensive line as well, instead of it being maybe a little bit more of a toss-up. So I like the Bucs to get this one done. I think there's been a lot made out of that stat that teams in the Big Ten traveling or 1-8 or whatever. I don't remember the exact stat, but something else I saw was when talking about teams like an Eastern time versus a Pacific time, teams traveling those time zones, the team that is favored is 10-3 straight up, not against the spread. So certainly bodes well for Ohio State in this one. Dale kind of touched on it too. Autzen, very raucous place to play, but it's only a raucous place to play if the opposing fan base is not
showing
tickets. And it's not that they're not showing up. I mean, it's one of those bucket list trips, right? Like, you kind of get that in those weird games. It was like Ohio State at Notre Dame last year. They haven't played in that building in 35 whatever years. So everyone who's got money is like, well, we're going to go to this game because we want to see it. So should still be a good home field advantage for Oregon. Probably not as good as they would like for it to be, just because of the Ohio State fans making the trip. So I think Ohio State gets it done.
I just wanted to build on Dale's point. I think Ohio State's going to try to establish a dominant run game in this. I don't think we're going to see, unless we have to. I mean, they're going to have to keep it respectful with Will Howard attempting to throw, but I think they're going to come in Oregon because they've given up some stuff in the run game this year, especially to Genty. And Ohio State doesn't have a Genty, but they have a Judkins and a Henderson who can repeatedly just punch you in the mouth because they both only average 10 carries a game.
Yep. And the other thing I saw too is that what Genty was able to do against Oregon is get outside, and that's where he got a lot of his yards. And I think Ohio State has a running game, and particularly their two running backs are uniquely skill set wise to also be able to take advantage of that.
And then if you add in some of the Will Howard running, who is 6'5", 240 pounds,
big boy.
It's a load of a person who's going to run into you and hit you. Like, Oregon is going to have to withstand. This is probably the most physical game they're going to have to go against maybe ever for them. And there were some pretty physical games when Jim Harbaugh was at Stanford for Oregon that Oregon would lose. Oregon is going to have to earn their Big Ten card in this one. You are going to have to show up and be man up, nut up for 4 quarters against this team. I think it's a great game, but like I said, I think Oregon give me the points, but Ohio State's going to win.
Yeah, I already sprinkled a little bit on Ohio State money line. I might make another bet on this one on Saturday. We'll see how spicy I'm feeling. Other big game of the weekend, 3:30 CBS Penn State. This spread is now down to -3.5, traveling out west to take on USC.
Down to 3.5?
Down to 3.5.
I got to update that bad boy.
The story of this one is not only is Penn State having to fly 6 hours from Pennsylvania to LA, but they had to bus 2 hours to get to Harrisburg because their airport isn't big enough to fly a 787 out of the State College Airport. So it's a hell of a trip for the Nittany Lions. Clinton, am not. It's one of those things that, looking at this game, that if you compare these two teams on paper, I don't think this really should be much of a game. I think Penn State should win this one handily. But if you combine like all the other weird contextual factors, like the long travel, and does Nick Singleton play? Apparently he was sick and not injured. So that's positive for Penn State, right? But they really struggled in the run game without him last week against UCLA. I still haven't. I mean, it seems like after week 1, and I talked about this a little bit with Garrett on 3 Tech last night. Like, it seems like after week 1, when they looked how they did against West Virginia, we all thought, well, Penn State solved their offensive issue because they're taking deep shots now, and they found a deep ball specialist in Trey Wallace. I just completely blanked on his name for a second. But they really haven't passed the ball well since that game. You know, they struggled for a bit against Bowling Green. They were a little better against UCLA, but he did not throw the ball well against Illinois at all. And on the other side of the ball, USC's defense, again, it seems like our expectations were reverted again by a win against an LSU team that may or may not be good. And it seems like they've regressed every week since then. You know, they get carved up a little bit by Darius Taylor last week. Max Brosmer in the second half starts hitting guys. They're susceptible in the screen game. And boy, you know that Andy Kotelnicki's going to hammer a screen game in this one. So I feel like Penn State should win this. I feel like Penn State should win this very comfortably, but I have just this sneaking feeling in the back of my head that USC wins this outright.
Wow.
I don't know if that's necessarily my pick. I'm still kind of
Okay.
thinking on it, but I'm like,
That was
it's
bold.
one of those. Like, it's one of those that like you just like if this game was in State College, Clinton, Penn State probably wins by what, like 14-17.
Yeah, I think they'd probably be a 10-point favorite.
Well, yeah, because that checks out for sure. But it's just like the travel plus, you know, USC's got you got a little bit of that back against the wall component. I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, did a little studying up here. USC is one of the most traveled teams in the country, while Penn State has not been on the road since week 1 when they went to West Virginia. This one I think is going to be a good old-fashioned slug fest. Not the kind of slug you're thinking of, because I'm thinking of the slow-paced slug. USC has been sluggish in the first half of their last 3 games. Penn State's been sluggish in the first half of their last 2 games. This literally may be a battle of just who can get off the pot quicker and score some points, because both teams have been relatively slow in the first half of their last few games. I think if Penn State is the one that gets the jump early, I think that's bad news for USC, because Penn State has an elite defense. USC's defense, if we were to flip this, we know is better, but wouldn't call them elite. I'd put them somewhere between average to good, maybe at this point. Penn State's defense is only allowing 11.4 points per game. So you better not let them start out too fast on you, because USC, you're likely not scoring that many points on them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about the quarterback matchup, Moss versus Aller. Aller's, I don't know, would you consider West Virginia or USC a tougher place to play? Probably West Virginia.
It's probably West Virginia.
But still making a big cross-country trip. He's got to go in front of the Trojan fans. I'm not as familiar with how well Penn State travels. I assume they've got to travel pretty decently. They're a pretty popular program. But in the quarterback battle, who makes less mistakes in this game? Who steps up in the clutch? Can USC's offensive line hold up against the Penn State pass rush? They've given up 6 sacks and 15 TFLs in their 3 Big Ten games.
Oof.
Most of that came against Michigan. I looked all those up today, but still, that's 6 sacks and 15 TFLs. You're not blocking very well if you're doing that. Abdul Carter, I heard you mention this one on the 3 Tech podcast yesterday. He's starting to get accustomed to the position he's playing. He's going to wreck your offense if you can't block him. Attacking downfield, I left this one as kind of a question mark. I would say you'd think USC probably has the advantage on that, because we really haven't seen much. You already mentioned this from Penn State outside of week 1. And then I had 2 kind of fun predictions for this one. I think we're going to get an explosive TD from Zachariah Branch in this game, whether it be return game, whether it be like a run or something that just ignites the fans. But I also think Tyler Warren, if you can bet this anywhere, Ryan, I think he's going to have another passing or rushing TD in this game. Kotelnicki is getting pretty freaky with the use of Tyler Warren. All that being said, I think I like Penn State in this game. I feel like they take this game a little more serious than probably what they did last week against UCLA. I'm going to envision this time Nicholas Singleton is playing. So USC then has to deal with the same factor that Oregon is now you have Allen and Singleton who can just repeatedly beat you in the face. I'm going Penn State -3.5, and I'm locking it up. This is my lock of the week.
Look at this guy.
Lock of the week.
I don't think the Nittany Lions are scared of USC at all. I think they have the defense that's going to limit USC to, I'm going to say 14 points or less in this game.
No, I spilled my water. I mean, you did say it was Big D Saturday, so.
That's right. Bringing the D. We're swinging the wood, baby.
Jesus Christ.
Laying the lumber.
I think I'm with you on this one. I'm going to take Penn State. I think the key in this one is Singleton. He plays.
Mhm.
I think they end up winning it comfortably. If he ends up not playing, then anything goes.
Yeah. What's
I
the third running back? Is it Walker for Penn State?
I have no
Is that
idea.
saying the right name?
I have no
He's a
idea.
good player. I think it's the freshman who's a very heralded freshman for them, who's going to be another great back once he gets his turn. But yes, I think the key is also Singleton. You need to have him to pair with Allen.
Mhm.
If those guys stay fresh, and again, they're on that Judkins Henderson model of 10, 12 carries a game, they're going to be so fresh, not only in the run game, but in the pass game, that they can utilize them. And I think Penn State's just a way more physical team. I don't think USC's faced as physical of a team yet. I know we played Michigan, but Michigan's defense, if you've looked at some of the stats for their ratings this year or where they're ranking
That's not great.
in nationally as a defense, it's poor, piss
Mhm.
poor compared to what they've had the past few years. So Penn State getting it done on the road.
Flashing us back to Friday evening.
What a banger we have tomorrow night, guys. Woo,
8
baby.
p.m. FS1. Northwestern traveling to Maryland. Maryland 10.5-point favorites in this one, coming off of a bye. Northwestern coming off of a 17-point loss to Indiana, in which they kept it within 3 for most of the game. On this one, Clinton, I feel like Maryland's kind of like Indiana light a little bit, considering how,
Yeah.
they play a couple weeks ago. I think that was a good game for most of the game until Indiana pulls away late. I think I like Northwestern in this one. They showed a little bit more offensive. You look completely stunned by that.
I was very shocked. It is a rather large spread. What did you give me?
10
What is it?
10
Okay,
and a
that's what I
half.
had. That's what I thought.
Jack Lausch looked a lot better last week. He looked like a functioning quarterback. They looked
Mhm.
like they had a functioning offense. You got Cam Porter back. He didn't do a lot last week, but now he's a week further removed from that injury. He got reintegrated into the lineup. I expect him to be a little bit better this week. Other side of the ball, we know what Maryland's passing attack is. It's very good. Indiana just cut up Northwestern a little bit with a similarly good passing attack. So I would expect Billy Edwards to once again have a pretty good game. Ty Felton, a little bit of a down game comparatively last time out. But I think Maryland wins, but I think Northwestern keeps it within 10, even if it may be a backdoor cover at the end to get within. But and now that I say that, Northwestern is going to completely fall off a cliff and look like they did against Washington a couple of weeks ago. But I really encourage the growth that I saw from that offense last week. And if they have an offense to go with a defense that, again, I think it's a decent defense, but again, got pulled apart a little bit by a good Indiana team last week. Maybe Indiana's just that good. I don't know. But I'm going to take the points here against my better judgment. And yeah, that's all I got on this one.
We already mentioned Northwestern's coming off 41-24 loss to Indiana. Well, the last time Maryland played was a loss to Indiana, 42-28. They are coming off the bye week. So our good listener over at the or who we like to listen to for the Solid Verbal, Dan Rubenstein, has been loving teams off the bye week this year, as well rested. So maybe that's a good thing for Maryland. They forced 4 turnovers in that game, though, and didn't score a single point off of it. So
great.
I'm not overly encouraged coming into this one. Northwestern won last year's matchup 33-27. So maybe Maryland's got a little bit of the edge trying to get back in that game. Maryland hasn't started 0-3 in the Big Ten since 2019. So they were faced with that this week. I'm looking over at the Northwestern side of the ball on defense. Their DBs, Theron Johnson, Devin Turner. Theron Johnson's tied for first in the Big Ten with 6 passes defended. He also has 1 interception. Devin Turner leads Northwestern in tackles with 20, and he also has 2 passes defended and 1 interception. The reason I bring that up is because of how good the Maryland pass game is. And we talk about the aforementioned Billy Edwards Jr., Ty Felton, and even Caden Prather. Both receivers were hurt the last time they were out. Latest update is Felton and Prather practiced in full this week. So barring a late setback, I believe both of these guys are going to be full go for Saturday. And then we look at Northwestern's offense. They're relatively weak in the pass game, but maybe we had a turn of the tables last week with A.J. Henning. He is now up to 296 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. Had a big week last week. He also ranks 6th in the conference with 31 receptions. So a bit of a target hog there. This is such a big,
It's a big
spread,
number,
I feel
man.
like, for this
it's a
one.
big number.
You know, I put another note here. Can the Terps force some turnovers? And I think they're going to. But can they actually capitalize? Can I bank on them to capitalize on the turnovers they actually get? Because Northwestern is not a joke on defense. They're a solid defense, like you mentioned. It's a little too big for me, even on the road. I like Northwestern plus 10.5.
Jump on the train, man.
I think Lausch is going to keep using his legs. He doesn't have to be a 100-yard runner, but he just needs to be an effective runner. If you're in 3rd and 4 and you're not able to find your reads, go get 4 yards with your legs and keep the drive alive and move the ball down the field. Keep the Maryland offense off of the field. That's how they're going to win this game.
Yes.
Keep the explosive Edwards to Felton connection off the field, and they're going to have a chance. And I think they'll be able to do that. Maryland's going to win, but Northwestern with the points.
Look at you, Clinton. You're giving me smack about my pick, and now you're just copying my pick.
That's just such a big number.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I don't know if I believe in Maryland enough. If Talia was slinging the rock, then sure, I'd give him some love for this, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're talking like 6 points, then okay, maybe yeah. 2 scores though for Maryland. I'm going to need to see a little bit more before I jump on that train here. High noon on Fox Saturday. Washington traveling to Iowa. The Hawkeyes a 3-point favorite. Clinton, this is a wild body clock game here. A 12 Eastern kickoff. That is 9 a.m. local time for the Huskies. Get your breakfast burritos ready on the sidelines there, boys, because that's early to be starting a game. Not only that, but a absolutely wild letdown spot here for Washington, coming off a huge primetime home win against Michigan last week. Really good defense waiting for you. A defense that's probably licking its wounds a little bit and is going to be chomping at the bit to get out there and prove, hey, we are better than we showed last week. Maybe I should have locked this one up. I'm taking Iowa 3 points. I'm not overthinking this one at all. I have concerns about the Iowa offense. I wonder, I didn't look to see what the quarterback situation was. I know they went to Sullivan late in that game against Ohio State, and I get it was against second teamers, but they moved the ball pretty well. I don't know if that's a worse riding or dying with Cade and seeing what's going on, or maybe, if they look crappy in the first quarter again, if they give Sullivan a series just to kind of see what happens. But definitely, obviously, the offensive edge in this one is going to be Washington. Will Rogers has been really good this year. Denzel Boston is emerging as one of the top targets in the Big Ten. But I just that is such an early kickoff for them, man. I don't like that at all. I know the travel's not as much, but still 9 a.m. body clock kickoff. Caleb Johnson's probably going to be looking for a big bounce back game, and you can get him on the ground a little bit. So I'm going to take Iowa -3, not think too hard about it.
Yeah, you kind of already hashed it. Can Washington put back-to-back performances together? Not even in a way of a win, but can they go back-to-back weeks without having asinine penalties and asinine coaching decisions? You already mentioned Denzel Boston and Will Rogers. Let's not leave out Jonah Coleman. Another big performance last week against a good Michigan defense. They have been the 3 key cogs in this offense. Will we see Washington still utilize Damon Williams in this game? Maybe they need to put his legs as a part of this offense to stress that Iowa defense a little more. What did we talk about a week ago? That Iowa's defense, you're not really going to lull them into many mistakes. They're very sound. They know what they run on defense. They play it very well. They're going to kind of sit in their base and make you make plays off of that. They will be prepared. You just mentioned Caleb Johnson. Can Washington slow down Caleb Johnson? That's one of the Twitter questions I posed today. And the reason I asked that is Washington has allowed 2 100-yard rushers on the season, Kyle Monangai and Damon Bankston from Weber State in week 1. I know it's week 1, and we all get better as every week goes. But if Damon Bankston is running for 100 yards on you, I'm inclined to believe that Caleb Johnson, arguably one of the best running backs in the Big Ten and maybe in the country, is going to run for 100-plus yards on you. You stole the thought right out of my mind. Iowa's offense, do we see Brendan Sullivan trying to mix his legs in a little bit? Washington has 13 sacks, 4 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries on the season. So McNamara needs to do a good job of taking care of the ball, or Sullivan does if he's in this game. Let the defense and Caleb Johnson do the job for you. Iowa defense is now facing their 3rd straight game with a top-tier running back. Darius Taylor, who they shut down. The Judkins-Henderson duo, who they got ran over by. They gave over 200 yards rushing to Ohio State. And then Jonah Coleman. Jonah Coleman averages just over 100 yards per game and averages 6.7 yards per carry. They're going to have their hands full with him. I like the Iowa Hawkeyes in this game because I think they're going to be able to run the ball and control the clock. I think McNamara, whoever's in at quarterback, is going to be smart with the ball, and they're going to keep Washington's offense at bay. Iowa -3.
We agree. Also, 12 o'clock, Big Ten Network, Wisconsin, coming off of their best offensive performance in God knows how long. Traveling east to Piscataway to take on
Probably since Brett Bielema's been there. Brett Bielema had
honestly, man,
a fetish about putting 70 points on teams anytime he could.
Listen, man, it was impressive, but it was also Purdue. A team that is decidedly not Purdue, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, a 2.5-point favorite in this one, Clinton. Thoughts and feelings on this one? Are we going to see Wisconsin carry over that offensive juggernaut performance from last week? Are we going to see Kyle Monangai and the Scarlet Knights get on track after kind of a dud performance last week against Nebraska?
I'm sitting here right here looking at my top line, and my thought for this game is it's the Rutgers run game versus the Badgers run D. Monangai averages 133.4 yards per game and over 1 TD per game.
Not rookie numbers.
Wisconsin's run defense, however, has not allowed more than 83 yards rushing to any individual running back this season. Now, they have not faced Kyle Monangai-esque running backs, but that's pretty impressive, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when you win against Bama. If the Badgers can slow the run game down for Rutgers, can Rutgers pass their way to a victory? I might argue no in that case. Mm-hmm. Ethan Kaliak-Manis is only completing 55% of his passes with an 8-3 TD to interception ratio. They had to kind of pass themselves out of a hole late in the game last week. Wasn't overly impressed. Now, I know they had the doink heard around the world, but I don't know if I can trust the pass game. You already mentioned, can Wisconsin continue to build on last week's dismantling of Purdue? They had almost 600 yards of offense. That's impressive no matter how bad the opponent is. Will Pauling was injured last week, but per Evan Flood from 24/7 Sports, he's been practicing this entire week, so sounds like expectation again that Pauling will be back. Tretch Kekahuna had a big game last week, 6 catches, 134 yards, 2 TDs, but him and Pauling both play the slot. So how willing will Wisconsin be to play 2 slot wide receivers or to rely on them? Were the Badgers really that improved last week? Or was it that Purdue just sucks? We're going to find out Saturday.
I think you know my answer to that one.
I think the boy might be because Purdue's not good.
Purdue is not good. It's not a good football team. So I want to buy the Wisconsin come up here, but it's just like we saw it with Notre Dame. They beat the pants off of Purdue, and then they come out and they've not been really carrying that over very well. Saw the same thing with Oregon State. Come in, run for 1 million yards, and haven't been carrying that over very well. So it feels like it's just kind of like this run up the score on Purdue, get stuff the stat sheet a little bit, and then you go back to kind of being what you were. So I just like...
Hey, first half Wisconsin against USC was good.
Yeah, they got a lot of...
Second half Wisconsin against USC, bad. Very bad.
Good. They got a lot of turnovers in that one. I just like, God, man, I keep going back and forth on this one because on the one hand, I'm not necessarily buying this Wisconsin resurgence, but on the other hand, I watched Rutgers try to play offense against Nebraska last week, and it was fugly. It was not very pretty. I'm going to go Rutgers -2.5. Give me the advantage to the home team here. The Kyle Monangai is probably the best player in this game, so when in doubt, you ride him. Just ride him. Give him more than 19 carries this week, Greg.
I'm going to go opposite. I'm going Wisconsin plus 2.5.
Respect. I respect that.
I think the Badgers' run D is going to slow him enough. He still may go over 100, but they're going to slow him enough, and they're going to make Callie McManus have to win this game, and I don't think he's good enough to do it.
Well, I certainly cannot disagree with that. Speaking of Purdue, 3:30 FS1, the Boilermakers travel to
Next.
Champaign. Yeah, man.
Next, just skip it.
Illinois, a 21.5-point favorite in this one. Will they be the latest beneficiary, Cleveland, of what has been a very generous Purdue defense this year?
Just call me Cleveland.
No, I said Clinton.
You said Cleveland.
Did I say Cleveland? There's
Yes.
no way I said Cleveland. I did not say
swear
Cleveland.
to God, I'm going to listen back to this
Yeah, we're gonna have
tomorrow,
to go.
and you said Cleveland.
Yeah, we're going to have to consult the tape on this one. We're going to video review.
Oh.
There's no way I said Cleveland.
I swear you did.
I mean, I guess there's a chance I did. I am.
Anybody listening to this mockery of an episode here, if he said Cleveland, please chat us and let us know. You mentioned it. Illinois fresh off the bye week. Purdue's fresh off a Badger beatdown. Here's my thought. Illinois, use this game to work on and establish a run game because you're going to play Michigan next week and you're going to need one. And then you're going to get Oregon the week after. So you need a little more balance because Altmaier and the receiving core have been pretty good. We need some balance on offense. You were pretty balanced in that upset you pulled against Nebraska a few weeks ago. Purdue, I got one thing I'm watching for you on this. I don't give a crap that you have a new OC because I still think your offense is not good. I'm watching how Dylan Thieneman plays against the passing attack of Illinois. Can he make any game-changing plays to keep Purdue remotely close in this game? He leads the Boilers in tackles again this season. He's sitting at 42 right now. He has 1 sack, 2 passes defended, but no picks. So maybe he makes a big play in this game and gets an interception. That being said, I think Illinois is going to dog walk Purdue. Give me Illinois minus 21.5.
You know, Thieneman would probably have 60 tackles if not for the 900 he missed against Notre Dame.
Probably.
Yeah, I just like...
He's going to be a Texas A&M Aggie next year, so it won't matter.
He's an Indiana kid. He's going to Notre Dame, bro.
No, he's going to go to the Hoosiers. That's
there
where he's
we
going to
go.
go. He's going to play for Coach Sig.
Listen, we don't have any Indiana to talk about this week. My heart is sad about it.
I'm very sad.
No,
Sammy on Monday, though. Can't wait.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm with you, though, on the Illinois run game. That was my thought on this one is Purdue's best defensive output this season against a Nebraska team in which we had similar questions about their ability to run. So I'm fascinated to kind of see how that one plays out, if Illinois is able to get that going a little bit, or if Purdue is able to also shut them down, which might be informative on Illinois the rest of the season here. But they got enough pass with Altmaier and the receivers out wide. I mean, Purdue's an auto fade for me until proven otherwise. I'm not betting this. I was going to lock this up when it opened at 17, and I was an idiot and didn't bet it. So that's on me. But I'm still taking. Wait, he died hang gliding. What an idiot! Hold on, I got that one in here somewhere. It's not as funny if I have to look and find it.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
Illinois minus whatever, man. I'm not betting it, but I'm picking it. I'm not picking Purdue until they give me a reason to pick them, which they have not done all year. So. Go Illini. Also 3:30 NBC, Stanford traveling out east once again. 2 weeks after they were out east taking on Syracuse.
They've done this for like 6 straight weeks. They're just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
That's what happens.
You should have just stayed in the faded Pac-12 and you'd be part of their new group of 5 team.
You are a Pacific Coast team playing in the Atlantic Coast Conference, Clinton. Notre Dame minus 22.5 point favorite in this one. Stanford quarterback Ashton Daniels did not play against Virginia Tech last week, and the offense looked god-awful in his absence. I did not realize he wasn't playing last week, and I lost a $400 parlay because Alec Io Manor did not go over 50 yards receiving. I thought that was a given.
He did get a touchdown, though. Dang it. He got a touchdown.
That does not help me, Clinton. So if Daniels doesn't play in this one, Stanford might not get a first down. That's way over dramatic. They will get a first down, but if they can't throw the ball, they're not beating Notre Dame. I feel like this should be an ND pick, but I have bad PTSD from 2 years ago when arguably the worst Stanford team since the team that did not win a game in like 2008 came into Notre Dame Stadium and beat them the week after they beat BYU, and I thought things were starting to go well again. Um, I have with Endy's, I'm kind of with Endy's offense like I am with Purdue. Like until you give me a reason to like you show me that I can trust you, I'm not going to trust you. They did some good things against Louisville, particularly in the first quarter last week or 2 weeks ago. Time is a social construct, but between the like 3 minutes left in the first quarter and that last scoring drive in the fourth quarter, they didn't do anything in that game offensively. And I don't know if that was just like a, hey, we're not going to turn the ball over. We're just going to kind of run it and try to milk some clock here, which again doesn't necessarily speak highly on what the offensive staff thinks of their ability to move the ball. But it's a weird one, man. It's a potentially tricky spot. Notre Dame's 3-0 under Marcus Freeman coming out of a bye. And I think their average margin of victory is like 27 points or something like that. But again, I have PTSD. I'm a damaged Notre Dame fan. I'm going to take Stanford to cover. Notre Dame wins, but give me the points there. Again, until Notre Dame's offense shows me that they can score against someone not named Purdue, I'm not trusting them to cover 3 scores.
Yeah. Stanford has 1 star. Ayo Manor. It should be pretty easy for Notre Dame to lock him down, especially
their other receiver, Cece's been pretty good this year too. He had a good game.
But if they don't have the quarterback, it's going to be pretty easy to lock those guys down. My biggest note for Notre Dame in this game is just stay healthy. You've had a bye week to lick some of your wounds. Let's get no more major injuries. You have a game looming against a Georgia Tech offense that can score points next week. You've got games looming against Navy and Army, who are looking like the group of 5 representatives coming. You need to be healthy. You're better than all those teams, and you should beat all those teams handedly, in my opinion. But you got to be healthy to do it. Looking at Stanford, they've allowed at least 31 points to the 4 Power 4 opponents they've played this season. And they also have been outscored 71-21 in their last 2 games.
It's not great.
That's a 50-point difference in 2 games.
Thanks for that math.
I know you struggle with it, so I wanted to help you.
I'm not good at it at all.
I am not the Notre Dame fan in this, and I feel like a bye week has done them good. If Virginia Tech can hold Stanford to 7, I feel very confident that Notre Dame is going to hold Stanford to maybe just 10. The question being then, can Notre Dame score 33 points to be able to win by 23? I think they do. Give me Notre Dame minus 22.5.
I have a trivia question for you, Mr. Clinton.
Uh-oh. I'm supposed to be the one asking you trivia, not you asking me.
Do you know
Fire away.
Currently, who are the top 2 teams in the country in pass efficiency offense?
Is this including like group of 5?
Yep.
Oh God. I'm gonna get massacred. Pass efficiency offense. Is Oregon one?
Nope.
Wow. Oregon's pretty good. Probably Army and Navy.
You are absolutely right. When I was looking up stats to go on 3-Tech, I pulled that one up and I'm like, that's fascinating. Yep. The academies, the option offenses that can actually pass the ball this year are number 1 and number 2 in the country in passer rating 4.
I am now 100% on Ryan asking Clinton trivia questions.
Look at you. Good for you, man. Wrapping up the Big Ten slate, 9 o'clock Big Ten Network, Minnesota looks to complete their conquest of the greater Los Angeles area, this time traveling west as a 3.5-point favorite to take on UCLA in the Rose Bowl, Clinton. All UCLA does is cover spreads, my friend.
All we do is cover instead of all we do is win. But
good,
yeah, we just can't win.
Good teams win, but great teams cover. I don't know how much of that last week was Penn State just not really taking that game seriously because it didn't really look like they did. So I don't really know. This could potentially be a fascinating spot for them, though, having Minnesota come out west. They've been fine. They've been pesky on defense.
Bring in the D.
I don't know if Garbers is going to be back at quarterback this week, but New guy looked pretty good last week.
I have an update for you on that.
All right.
He's
drop
been
it.
back at practice this week, and it is trending towards him starting at quarterback this week. That would be
Interesting.
Garbers, not Martin.
Interesting. Potentially a huge letdown spot here for Minnesota, given the magnitude of that win. I don't know how much I trust PJ Fleck. I don't know if they had another truth serum or whatever the hell
Sprite
he
potion?
gave him, another Sprite potion in the middle of the week. Maybe he needs some reverse rat poison or something to get the team motivated to play this week. Big letdown spot. We're talking about a UCLA team that's not been particularly great this year, but good. I mean, they're spunky. They're definitely spunky. It's not a bad team that's just laying down and getting smacked. They're playing hard. I'm going to pick the upset, Clinton. Give me UCLA in this one to cover. I don't know if they win, but I think they'll cover.
Yeah. Minnesota's fresh off the upset win against USC. I think Darius Taylor is going to have another big game and keep it rolling. I think another over 100-yard performance. Should UCLA just roll the dice and go with Justin Martin? He was this lone kind of bright spot on offense for this team against a really good Penn State defense. And whether Penn State was fully vested into the UCLA game or not, they still have a great defense. And he moved the ball pretty effectively against them. He didn't put up massive stats, but he kept drives alive. He didn't look scared when Penn State was barreling down on him. He delivered strikes. Yeah, he made some mistakes. He's a young guy. If I'm UCLA, I'm probably looking with Martin. I feel like he had some good momentum that he was carrying out of that Penn State game. My big question mark here is, can UCLA cover again? I think they are. They haven't. Why go against them when they've covered every time? I'm taking UCLA +5.
You got it at 5. I got it at 3.5, homie.
I'm sorry. It's 3.5.
Does that change your calculus?
I'm going to give them 3.5. Oh, it does. I'm curious. Yeah, I had it at 5 today. My bad. I thought we were both on the same one there.
You weren't ready for it this time.
You know what? Give me Minnesota then. Minnesota for 200, Ryan.
We talked him out of it. Bonus pick in this one. No MAC for us this week. There's a lot more MAC, and I don't want to pick all of them. We're going to go Red River.
Go Bobcats.
Go Bobcats. 3-point favorite against Central Michigan. They're going to win.
We're getting it
also
done.
Go Falcons. They're going to beat NIU as well.
I heard some really good things today about the tight end at BGSU.
Harold Fannin.
He's a pretty legit dude. He's
9 catches a game so far this year. Put that man on the Mackey Award watch list.
700 and something yards receiving.
He's a beast. He is
fantastic.
Beast.
What's his size? You know what his measurables are?
6'4", 230.
I'm not in love with the 6'4". I'd be less in love with it if it was 15 years ago in the NFL, but 6'4" works. I think Sam Laporte is only 6'4". He gets the job done. You just need to be athletic.
Yeah, he's pretty athletic. They're running jets.
You need to be able to chip block a little bit, and you need to be able to catch passes. And that's what he does. So I like Fannin. Is he draft eligible?
I believe he is.
Nice. I love MAC tight ends.
I believe he's a true junior.
That'll be awesome. All right. Anyways, back to a previously scheduled program.
Red River, 3:30, ABC. Texas, a 14.5-point favorite, taking on Oklahoma in a game which anything can happen, Clinton, such as Oklahoma once again not having their top 5 wide receivers. It was just announced that Deion Burks is out for this game.
Oh.
So new quarterback, Michael Hawkins Jr., coming off it was an okay performance against Auburn, right? I mean, the stat line was fine. He didn't make any
playing
catastrophic
Texas
mistakes.
now, though.
Well, that's fair. Yes. So the kind of thing that I was thinking with Texas is, are we sure that they're as good as we're anointing them? Because I think they got a lot of juice on beating Michigan, and it turns out Michigan stinks.
Mm-hmm.
So do we need to because otherwise they played their one SEC game to this point is Mississippi State, who is also awful, just god-awful football team. And then they've played 3 G5 teams. And now UL Monroe is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't really I get no one's played everyone and everyone stinks. That's what the thing that everyone says is, who have they played? But
Listen, there will be people out there if Ohio State beats Oregon this week. People, wow, Oregon really wasn't that good. Ohio State hasn't beaten anybody.
well, because
You know those narratives. So what will happen?
It's because everyone's a hater. Everyone is a hater.
Just enjoy damn good college football. Folks.
I'm not saying
we're at week 7 already.
Yeah, I know that's disgusting. You shut the hell up. I'm not saying this to be a hater. I'm saying this because it feels like we kind of anointed Texas based on the way that they just kind of came out and pulled Michigan apart without really blinking twice. And it turns out they did that because Michigan is not good on offense or defense. Like, it's happened multiple times since then. So I don't necessarily know that it gets them in this game because, again, I don't know that Oklahoma is going to really be able to threaten them offensively. I think the key to victory for Oklahoma in this game is hope that Quinn Ewers reverts into a pumpkin and throws like 3 interceptions or something like that, because I just don't know how they're going to be able to move the ball in this game. Texas run game's been fine. I mean, given the injuries they've had in the backfield, I can't say that it's necessarily surprising that it hasn't been like this, wow, fantastic unit or anything like that. But I think Texas has 2 quarterbacks that are definitely better than anything Oklahoma has. So that's got to count for something.
Their third one over in at Duke, Malik Murphy might be better than anything that Oklahoma has.
That's probably not inaccurate, but this Hawkins kid could be pretty good, but he literally does not have anyone to throw the ball to. So that is tough. That is tough for sure. I like Texas to win this game, but I don't know that I like them to cover 14.5 just because weird things happen in this game. And that's a lot of points to cover in a game where weird things happen. So Texas to win, but Oklahoma, I think, covers this.
Oklahoma has been pretty good on defense this year, I believe. They limited Tennessee's offense.
But given what happened last week with Arkansas, how much stock are we putting in that?
It is. I think also, and I hate to be Greg Sankey and all the SEC coaches who make this excuse, but I think some of that's the life in the SEC. There's a lot of talent there.
That's accurate, though.
If you've ever been to one SEC stadium, they're all the same. It's insane. These freaking people are nuts. This is what they live for.
That's all they
don't
have,
care
bro.
if you're going to Vandy, you're going to Bama or Georgia. Every one of those atmospheres is nuts.
Clinton, it's the South. That's all they have.
Yeah. And Arkansas's been a kind of a spunky team this year, given that we all thought Pittman would be fired after like game 2.
Very true.
So, yeah, I think Nico needs to continue to develop, and maybe people, like we said, Texas anointed him a little too much too early as a first-time starter. But I think Oklahoma's defense is good enough to keep this game within that 14.5. And I think that's a lot of the narrative where a lot of people are leaning in this. I think for Oklahoma to have a true chance to win, they have to create multiple turnovers like they did last year. Now, the problem is Dylan Gabriel was not standing on the sidelines for Oklahoma to then capitalize on those turnovers. So I think I'm going to add a plus to that. You have to get turnovers, plus you need the defense to get them into key spots on the field. Like Texas has the ball at the 20 on their own 20, and you cause a turnover so that you don't have to go very far. Or your defense gets a pick 6. Or your defense gets a 40-yard fumble recovery, something that can sway the momentum and make it just a little bit easier on your offense, because Texas plays really good defense. Again, I know who they played, but that's what we're saying for a lot of people right now. So I'm just going on results. They have a good defense. They have a freshman pass rusher who leads the team in sacks. He has 5 sacks. And you know what he does? All he does is play pass rush downs. He has 5 sacks, leads the team. Doesn't play near as much as the other guys.
Pretty good.
I don't know that much about Oklahoma's offensive line. I know their defense is solid. I think their defense, combined with the fact that this is Quinn Ewers' first game back since the injury, I'm going to take Oklahoma plus 14.5. Texas wins. Oklahoma keeps it within the 15 points, essentially.
We agree. I feel like half of my picks this week were just vibes picks. Like
We're just what?
Vibes picks. Like I have no football-related reasons for why I made these picks. It felt right.
I think that's fitting coming off a week like last week.
No one knows anything.
With all the upsets,
Anything can happen.
it just shows nobody knows anything. You're right.
No,
It's
I just like
you got to go with your gut. Let's go
I
with your
just,
gut
like-
Saturday.
this is my high horse to finish us off for this week. I can't stand this like discourse that happens where it's like people try to extrapolate week by week results and they're like, well, so and so lost to so and so and that means they suck, or people who unironically try to transitive property college football. It's just like every game is its own individual season in this sport.
Mhm.
And I mean, when you get like trends, right? Like we can say pretty confidently right now that Michigan's offense is poop because we've seen it for 6 weeks. But like, Alabama loses to Vandy. Were they taking that game seriously? Probably not. Let's be honest with each other here. Like, why are we going to sit here and try to extrapolate results on what could have been a one-off?
Mhm.
And then
If
people
you go
get,
by
like,
the
fired up.
transitive property, then Vanderbilt's better than Georgia.
This is true. Notre Dame has a chance to beat Georgia in 2 weeks by beating Georgia Tech because Georgia Tech is transitively better than Georgia somehow. I
Yeah,
saw that on the internet, and if it was on the internet, it has to be real.
it's true. 100% true.
So and then just like the people who get all fired up about like and so definitively hot takey on their opinions. It's like, okay, come on, guys, let's just watch the games and have fun with it. Who gives
Enjoy
a shit?
it.
That's all.
You get
thank you.
a 5 to 6 glorious month period to watch college
Okay, Mike
football.
Tyson.
I broke my back. Spinal.
Punched him in the face. That is all for us this evening. If you're still listening, what is wrong with you? We appreciate you. You're weird just like us.
Absolutely.
We will be back Sunday night, 9 p.m. again to recap what should be a fantastic weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not leaving my couch. I'm going to have to get all of my exercising done early in the morning on Saturday so I don't feel like a blob by the time the 7:30 games roll around from all the nachos that I will have eaten.
Should be a joy. I'm looking forward to it. A great slate. And we got another great slate next Saturday, too.
They're all
So,
great, man.
yeah.
When you're only guaranteed 12 games, every slate is a great slate.
Yep. Enjoy them while you have them.
Words to live by. All right, y'all. Thanks again for tuning in this evening. We will see you all on the other side Sunday evening.
See ya.